いや、そうでもないっす。
こんな人たちの言いなりになっちゃダメだよ。
Step into the world of Hanagami Takemichi, a struggling, aimless part-time worker. Life is dealing him a tough hand until he receives a devastating blow. The love of his life from junior high, Tachibana Hinata, has fallen victim to the brutal conflict between the Tokyo Manji gang. Grief-stricken and reeling from the news, Takemichi trudges through his daily routine until a fateful twist of fate changes everything. As he stands on the railway platform, suddenly pushed to the brink, a train hurtles towards him in what seems like a certain death. But as he closes his eyes and braces for impact, he wakes up to find himself transported back to a time 12 years prior. Join Takemichi on an epic journey through time, fate, and redemption. At the start of episode 1, we cut to our protagonist Takemichi Hanagaki. While leisurely lounging and indulging in snacks, Takemichi is jolted by the news of conflict in the Tokyo Manji gang that resulted in civilian casualties, including his former middle school girlfriend Naoto and Hinata Tachibana. But this surprise quickly turns to annoyance as his neighbor interrupts his peace by knocking on his door and complaining about his loud TV. Takemichi, who has become all too familiar with apologizing, offers his apologies once again. At work, his manager scolds him for not properly putting back returned DVDs, which prompts another apology from Takemichi. As he walks home, he suddenly finds himself at the center of a chaotic situation as a group of mischievous kids scratch a car and then run off, leaving Takemichi to take the blame. Standing at the train station, Takemichi expresses his frustration at how his life has become a never-ending cycle of apologies and being blamed for everything, all while being a virgin. But just as he laments his fate, someone suddenly pushes him onto the tracks as a train approaches. At the brink of death, Takemichi is transported back in time to the second year of middle school, where he once had the best life, including a girlfriend. As he awakens on the train, he is greeted by his old school friends Makoto, Yamagishi, Akun, and Takuya. Looking in the mirror, he is shocked to find that he has regained his appearance from middle school. Checking his phone, he realizes that it's July 4th, 2005, exactly 12 years ago. Takemichi joins his friends at a restaurant where they order burgers, but he only orders fries as he is low on money for the train. His friends happily comment on how Takemichi's cousin, Masaru, is the leader of Shibuya 3rd Middle School and that they won't have to worry about anyone messing with them. However, Takemichi is puzzled, wondering what they mean. Makoto explains that they are going to fight with the second years of Shibuya 3rd Middle School, as they have issues with them. As they make their way, Takemichi starts to recall the events that led up to the fight, but he becomes scared, as he hasn't fought in 10 years. As they reach Shibuya, Takemichi and his friends start to talk to the people they meet, but are disappointed to find that everyone they approach is either a first or third year. They begin to ponder if the second years are purposefully avoiding them. Suddenly, Takemichi is struck with a wave of memories as the events of the past come flooding back to him. In that moment, they are confronted by a group of third years led by Masataka Kiyomizu. Masataka humorously comments that he heard they were searching for the second years, but all the second years are currently on a school trip. Yamagishi states that they had already talked with their boss, Masaru, which causes one of the third years to laugh and call Masaru to their side. He orders him to go and buy drinks for everyone from his own money. As Masaru scurries off to do as he was told, Takemichi is reminded of the truth, that Masaru was actually their errand boy and had lied about being the leader in order to impress them. This realization leads to Takemichi and his friends getting beaten up and being informed that they are now soldiers in the Tokyo Manji gang. Takemichi reflects on how this hellish period of his life had begun and why he left the town after graduation. Trying to escape these painful memories, Takemichi recalls Hinata and decides to visit her on his way home. The sight of him beaten and bruised, causes Hinata to realize that he has been fighting again. She tries to convince him to stop fighting for pointless reasons, but Takemichi starts to cry and attempts to leave. Hinata can sense that he is hiding something and that he is not his usual self. After a brief conversation, Takemichi leaves in tears and sits on some swings. In the distance, he hears some guys harassing a younger kid and he can't help but feel angry. He walks over and punches one of the guys, then grabs and breaks a bottle, threatening to kill them if they don't leave. The guys quickly apologize and leave, leaving Takemichi alone with the kid. The kid thanks Takemichi and he, in turn, offers a piece of advice. He tells the boy to be confident and not to back down, for this will scare off the half-hearted bullies. With a smile, the boy introduces himself as Naoto Tachibana, which instantly makes Takemichi realize that he is Hinata's younger brother. As Takemichi learns about Naoto's identity, he begins to feel a sense of urgency. He knows that Naoto will also die in 12 years, just like Hinata. Without hesitation, Takemichi asks Naoto a critical question. Do you love your sister? Naoto, with a hint of embarrassment, reveals that he doesn't, as she always bosses him around. But Takemichi, with a warm smile, tells him to take care of her and that he loves her. With a heavy heart, Takemichi opens up to Naoto about his own journey through time. He tells Naoto that he fell into the train tracks and ended up 12 years in the past. He then reveals the ominous date, July 1st, 2017, when both Hinata and Naoto will die. Takemichi emphasizes the importance of Naoto remembering this date and protecting his sister. With a firm handshake, Takemichi sends Naoto on his way, hoping that he will make the right choices in the future. Suddenly, Takemichi wakes up in the infirmary at the station, realizing that it is July 4th, 2017. Initially, he thinks it was all a dream, but he soon realizes that something is different. He notices that he has no injuries from the train incident, which leaves him with many questions. It doesn't take long for the answer to present itself, as the one who saved him shows up, eager to talk. To Takemichi's surprise, it is Naoto, who reveals that Takemichi had time traveled. With the information that Takemichi had given him in the past, Naoto was able to save him. Naoto tells Takemichi that he studied hard and became a police officer, but unfortunately, he still wasn't able to protect Hinata, who died nonetheless. With tears in his eyes, Naoto asks for Takemichi's help in saving his sister. Takemichi, with a heavy heart, agrees, knowing that this is the only way to change their fate. What an eventful first episode. Before we follow Takemichi on his journey to save his girlfriend, take a moment to answer the question of the day. What would you do if you could go back in time? Comment your thoughts down below for a chance to be shouted out, and now, back to the recap. At the beginning of the second episode, Takemichi Hanagaki is faced with a new challenge. Despite his initial reluctance, he decides to assist in saving Hinata Tachibana. In order to do so, Naoto Tachibana reveals his remarkable power of time travel. He explains that he is able to jump back to the exact same day, but 12 years earlier. Determined to succeed, Takemichi spends 2 consecutive days in Naoto's room, absorbing all the information he has gathered about the notorious Tokyo Manji gang. Naoto warns Takemichi that some of the information he is providing is not readily available to the media, as his predecessor obtained it while working undercover. Tragically, after being discovered, he was killed, and they even found a video recording of his death in his eye socket. Naoto has been requesting transfers until he finally took on his predecessor's position 6 months ago. However, Takemichi is limited in his ability to time travel and can only jump back on specific dates. Naoto instructs him that when he returns to the past, he must prevent the meeting between the 2 top members of the Tokyo Manji gang, Manjiro Sano and Teta Kisaki. If they never meet, the gang will never exist and Naoto's sister will not have to die. Takemichi is unsure of how to go about it, but Naoto believes that their handshake is the trigger for time travel. He informs Takemichi that Manjiro and Teta are set to meet in August, and Takemichi must stay close to one of them to prevent their meeting. With a firm handshake, Takemichi time travels back 12 years, ready to face his new mission. He is determined to save Hinata and prevent the creation of the notorious gang, hoping to change the future for the better. As Takemichi opens his eyes, he is instantly thrown into a brutal fight where people have placed bets on the outcome. In shock and disbelief, Takemichi quickly checks his phone to confirm that he has indeed been transported back in time. Unfortunately, before he can fully process the situation, his opponent lands a powerful punch that knocks him unconscious. Upon awakening, Takemichi finds himself in the presence of Masataka Kiyomizu and his gang, who are not pleased with the fact that Takemichi went down so easily. With the Fight Club at risk of losing customers, Masataka orders his men to teach Takemichi a lesson. The beating is a harsh reminder of the past, where Takemichi was forced to serve as Masataka's slave, leading him to eventually run away and leave his friends and Hinata behind. As Masataka and his gang begin to leave, Takemichi ponders the possibility of them being members of the Tokyo Manji gang and expresses his desire to meet Manjiro or Teta. This only fuels Masataka's anger and he viciously beats Takemichi with a bat. Takemichi's cries for help attract the attention of Masataka's men, who step in to prevent him from killing Takemichi. With a final warning to never mention Manjiro's name again, Masataka leaves Takemichi shaken and scared, feeling as though he will never be able to meet anyone. Determined to protect himself, Takemichi seeks out Naoto, but instead, he encounters Hinata, who is worried about his well-being. Hinata admits that if she were a boy, she would have fought to protect him. Takemichi, filled with a newfound resolve, promises to protect Hinata as well, accidentally calling her Hina in the process. Hinata's cheeks turn red with happiness as she basks in the moment, but as Takemichi leaves her home, he grapples with the reality that he is not obligated to save Hinata, as they have not seen or spoken to each other in years. Nevertheless, seeing Hinata now, he knows that he cannot let her die. The following day, Takemichi's friends gather in the bathroom, where the daily Fight Club fights have become a routine. Suddenly, Atsushi Sendo reveals that Takuya Yamamoto is fighting today. Takemichi recalls Takuya's fragile state, how he almost died in the previous fight. The group disagrees, but they cannot oppose Masataka. Akun tries to take Takuya's place, but Masataka won't listen. In this moment, Takemichi realizes how much his friends care for each other and how cool they are. The fight is about to start. Kojima from Sakura Middle School faces off against Takuya from Mizo Middle School, with odds 6-4 in Kojima's favor. Masataka signals to start, but Takemichi interrupts the fight. Takemichi declares that it is boring to watch the same lame matches every day and wishes for something more entertaining, like a king versus a slave. He approaches Masataka and challenges him to a fight. Knowing that he can't save Hinata by staying a slave, Takemichi rises to the challenge and confronts Masataka. Masataka agrees to fight, but the first strike from him reveals the huge disparity in power between the two. Despite the odds, Takemichi refuses to give up, determined to save Hinata. Meanwhile, Atsushi approaches the ring with a knife, intent on stopping Masataka's attack on Takemichi. However, as he sees the crowd's reactions, he realizes that they have lost support for Masataka. Despite the intense beating he is receiving, Takemichi refuses to surrender, reflecting on how weak and apologetic he was in the past. Atsushi puts away the knife and tries to convince Takemichi to give up, but Takemichi is steadfast in his resolve, stating that he has a reason to fight and won't give up. He tells Masataka that if he wants to win, he will have to take his life, as Takemichi is not backing down. This bold declaration surprises the crowd, as they expect a fistfight, but Masataka asks for his bat, revealing the true brutality of the fight. Suddenly, Draken kicks Kiyomasa, adding to the chaos of the scene. Ken Ryuguji, the vice commander of the Tokyo Manji gang, appears and tries to calm down Masataka, who is scaring the onlookers. However, Manjiro Sano, the commander of the Tokyo Manji gang, walks onto the scene and the crowd bows down in respect. Despite the attempts of a delinquent to introduce himself, Manjiro ignores him and Ken states that Manjiro only talks to those he is interested in. When Masataka greets Manjiro, Ken kicks him in the gut, telling him to show more respect to Manjiro. This dramatic turn of events only adds to the tension of the fight, leaving Takemichi's friends wondering who these new players are and what their intentions are. Initially, as Manjiro approaches Takemichi and inquires about his name, he mispronounces it as Takemichi. This leads Manjiro to ponder if Takemichi is truly in middle school. Despite this, Manjiro declares that starting from that moment, they are friends, which leaves Takemichi flabbergasted. Nevertheless, when Manjiro turns to Masataka, he inquires if he is in charge of the fights. Upon confirming his suspicions, Manjiro immediately unleashes a swift kick to Masataka's face, followed by a brutal beating. Eventually, Manjiro decides that the fight club is not worth his time and decides to leave, while Ken warns Masataka not to bring Tokyo Manji Gang's reputation down. Later, Kazushi and Makoto are thrilled to learn that Takemichi has managed to make friends with Manjiro. However, Takemichi is petrified, as he feels like he has gone from being a slave to Masataka to becoming a slave to a monster. Meanwhile, as Kazushi and Makoto repeat Ken and Manjiro's words, Atsushi reveals to Takemichi that he had planned on stabbing Masataka in order to escape their slavery. However, thanks to Takemichi, they are no longer slaves. The next day, as Takemichi heads to school, he encounters Hinata, who asks him out on a date before her cram school. During class, Takemichi is consumed with thoughts on how to prevent Manjiro and Teta from meeting. Suddenly, he hears a commotion from the hallways and sees Manjiro storming into his classroom, demanding that he come out and play. Takemichi is shocked by Manjiro's wild behavior, especially when he sees a group of third years beaten. Ken explains that Manjiro had gotten angry and beat them up. Ken then orders them to line up and walk on their stomachs, with Manjiro following behind. Despite their attempts to convince Takemichi to hang out with them, Hinata misunderstands their intentions and slaps Manjiro. She tries to take Takemichi's hand and leave, but Ken stops them. Hinata vehemently tells them that if they were truly Takemichi's friends, they would not force him, and if they are the cause of his recent beatings, she will put a stop to it. Takemichi then places his hand firmly on Ken's shoulder and firmly tells him to release Hinata. He asserts that there are things he won't compromise on, no matter what. Manjiro, meanwhile, laments that they could have been friends and poses a sobering question. How does Takemichi want to die? Despite the tense atmosphere, Takemichi remains steadfast, demanding that Manjiro promise not to lay a hand on Hinata. However, Manjiro nonchalantly states that he doesn't care and threatens to punch Takemichi. But at the last moment, he stops his hand and reveals that he was just joking. He adds that he would never hit a girl, a sentiment that Ken echoes, commenting that Takemichi's protection of Hinata is old school and noble. Feeling relieved, Hinata approaches Manjiro and apologizes, to which he responds that it's okay, but advises her not to push herself too hard. She then turns to Takemichi and suggests that he can go with his friends another time, as they can always go on a date later. As Takemichi rides his bike, he can't shake the memories of Naoto's warnings about the Tokyo Manji Gang's evil deeds in the future. He wonders if Manjiro is really the head of such a nefarious organization. He turns to Manjiro and asks him why he likes him, and Manjiro shares a poignant story. He had an older brother who was reckless and got into fights with much stronger people. Takemichi reminds him of his brother, and Manjiro confides that he wants to create a new era for delinquents, one where they are respected and admired once again. Ken adds that there are plenty of good fighters, but very few people who stand up for what they believe in, never backing down. Walking home, Takemichi reflects on Manjiro's words and ponders how he couldn't be the guy who would kill someone like Hinata. He wonders what could have changed the Tokyo Manji Gang, and as he walks, he sees a group of guys and thinks he recognizes one of them. Who were these mysterious delinquents? What connections will Takemichi uncover in his quest to save Hina? Find out on our next recap of Tokyo Revengers Season 1.